Well, good morning, everybody. It is Sunday morning, and I worked so hard yesterday, I was pooped. And I did not go to church this morning, although I got up fairly early. But I was anxious to start working on some crafts to finish up things. I do so many things in stages, and I tried filming a few videos here within the last several weeks, and they were corrupted. They wouldn't upload. So I wanted to show you what those projects were. I was filming myself making them, and since I didn't upload, I thought, well, I'll show you the finished products. And since I'm going to make more of some, I can show you those as I go along. And I may show you working on something else. Anyway, here's one of the ornaments I had done. This can be an ornament. It can be a gift tag. It's green on the back. It's just got the the pink and white twine. What I did with this was I went onto Canva, and Canva is a site, and I believe most of you, even if you don't pay for you don't pay for the pro program, you can go on and design different things. So I did that, and I wanted these flamingos, and I wanted to say flocking fabulous. So I did that, printed it onto white tissue paper, and then decoupaged onto these metal pieces that I had picked up and shown in a previous video that I got at Hobby Lobby on clearance. I don't remember now, 99 cents or something. So anyway, I did that. Then I added resin to the front. This is strictly green tissue paper that I decoupaged on, and I added a thin layer of resin to the back just to make them a little shinier, more durable. And final touch on these was adding a little white glue around the edges and dipping in glitter. So that's an ornament. It could be a gift tag. Hopefully they'll sell. We'll find out. Another thing I was videoing were these little beach bucket ornaments. Now I do have 3 others that are ready to be worked on, and I will try and refilm those as I'm doing it. But simple little buckets that I purchased at the Dollar Tree, 3 for $1.25. You get them in the bridal section, with a styrofoam ball, some sand, and then adorning it with shells, some glass, and those little charms that I got off of Temu. Now I did add some cording to them to make it a little bit more realistic, but that is that. So while I'm chatting with you, I'm going to work on something that I did film, the majority of it, and that got lost. But here is a little joy sign done in nautical colors. Now I had, and I'm going to make another one, and I'll try and refilm that one because I have the supplies. These letters I had purchased several years ago at Hobby Lobby. I probably paid full price, but they were probably 99 cents. And the O is cording that I did a video on. Again, purchased very inexpensively at Hobby Lobby, where I made some trivets. And then I adorned it. What I'm going to do right now on film is go ahead. I want to add sand to the base before I finish embellishing the O. So I'm going to go ahead and do that and talk with you while I'm doing it. Simply, all I'm going to do, and the reason I want to add some sand, number one, I want it to be a little bit more realistic looking, beachy, but also because this wood is not perfect, and it'll help hide some of the imperfections. So I'm just putting some white glue on, and you can see I work on cookie sheets quite often. Cheap, inexpensive cookie sheets that have been through the mill. I put wax paper down so I can throw it away. If I'm using glitter or something, I can scoop it back up. So I'm just going to spread some of this on here and use a paintbrush to move it around. And I'll show you what I'm doing. For those of you that have done stuff like this, this is probably very elementary. I just thought it would be a nice time to come on and chat a little, show you some things I'm working on, and just chat. So I'm putting a thin layer on. I had previously painted this board with just some inexpensive white craft paint. I didn't even use chalk paint, just some Craft Smart white paint. I think I put on maybe 2 coats just to coat it. So all I'm doing here is on this top portion, adding some white glue. Okay. Now, while that is wet, I'm going to take some of this white sand from the Dollar Tree. It's the same thing I used on my other ornaments. And all I'm going to do is generously pour this on. And now you can see why I use wax paper, because it will catch it. And then I can pour it right back into the bag. Okay, let me turn it around and get the other side. You know, when you do for craft shows, you do things, at least I do. I do things very assembly line. So I may have a half a dozen different things I'm working on at the same time. Because while paint's drying on one project, I'm doing something on another. Okay, so now I've got the top of this covered. Okay. And it definitely kind of adds more of a little, you can't really see it on camera, but a little beachy look. So now I'm going to add some glue. To this side. Now when I was affixing these letters, again, I will show you one doing this if you're interested. Please comment, let me know. If you're not interested, there's no point in me trying to instruct you. And some of it's very easy. You could figure it out on your own. I'm going to go ahead and add some sand to this side. Okay. And really, this is just to add a little bit more texture. This is not a necessary step by any means. I just happen to be one of those kind of detail people. Sometimes I put way too much into something. And one of the reasons I did this one in these navy colors is because my house is all blue and white. And if I don't sell this, it will definitely fit in with my decor at Christmas time. Okay, so I've got that side done. I'm going to turn around and see if I can do this without making a huge mess. Do the other side. Now you know why I buy a lot of this white glue. Inexpensive. This is one of those $25 bottles I'm using from the Walmart. It works as good as Elmer's, particularly for certain things, that's for sure. Okay, so I've spread that on. Here we go with the sand. Now I could probably dip it in the sand, but I like to just pour. And I like to be generous. The more you put on, the more coverage you're going to get. And I always figure, since I've got paper or wax paper underneath it, I'm going to scoop up the rest of it anyway. So I put it on, okay? Nice coating. And now for the very ends. And then we're going to let that dry. And while that's drying, I'm going to show you something else I'm working on, because this is the way I do things. While one project is drying or something's curing, I will move on to the next. Now, I'm going to show you. I could just dip this, I believe, right into this pile and get a pretty good coating. Problem is, the Y gets in the way. But yes, it's working. Okay? So you can see I got that one end done. I think you can see that. So now we'll do the other end. stick my paintbrush into some water I have on hand. Okay. Yep, checking to make sure it's all on there. Okay, it is. Now I'm not going to do the underside, but I have the wood base on the 4 sides that you can see. We're going to set this aside and let it dry. And we will come back to that. So I'm going to move this aside. But this is what I do. Okay. I'm actually going to take this sand and put it in a Tupperware container. But since I didn't bring it in here, this is what I do. Okay. And I think most of you know this little trick. There you go. Easy peasy. I do that even when I'm working with glitter. You don't waste. And you can see this cake sheet, this cookie sheet, I mean, it's a Dollar Tree cookie sheet, but I use them for craft purposes. Okay, I'm going to set my sand aside. Get that out of the way. Now, the other day I was showing you that I had purchased at Michael's, these little wood tags. And I told you that last year I made a whole slew of these and sold quite a few. So I'm going to make some different ones this year. And maybe some more like I sold before. But these I took. And you can see I've already gotten a number of them done. I took 12. I may go ahead and make 12 more exactly the same. But what I did, and I'm not going to waste your time to show you on camera, but the first thing I did was take and put 1 coat of, again, this very inexpensive white craft paint on one side. Anytime I decoupage, I always put, even if it's on wood like this, I usually put a coat of white on because I do think it makes the colors show up. Then I took napkins, and I used all of these, and I still had plenty left over. But here's one of those napkins that I ordered from Temu. It was only 2-ply, very easy to pull apart. And all I did was cut out a bunch of little squares, little rectangles, okay? Now, for decoupaging napkins or tissue on small items like this, glue sticks are fabulous. I'm going to do one on another project, hopefully before I end this video, and you'll see how simple it is. Kids can do this. There's no mess. You don't get wrinkles. It dries very quickly. Now, at Walmart, right now in the back to school supplies, you can get 2 of these for $1. You can't beat that price. So, anyway, so what I've done on these that I've already done that, okay, so they've decoupaged. I had a layer of white, decoupaged a napkin on, and when you decoupage, again, I'll show you this. When you want to trim it, you just sand off the edges, but I'll show you that if you don't know how to do it. Now, I'm starting to paint the back side, and I had one design in mind, and I wasn't real sure what I wanted to do. I believe these have, can't remember if I got 1 coat on or 2. But what I'm using here, folks, is, again, Craft Smart, the inexpensive craft paint. This is Sea Mist Pearl. I wanted something that had a little bit of a pearl finish, just to add to it, okay? Just a little sheen. And I'm cleaning my brush off. I keep paper towels handy. I've got some soapy water here, because I'm going to use the same brush. I favor certain paint brushes, so I will use them for just about everything. Okay, so I've rinsed that glue off. And when you're using, obviously, your paint brushes with glue, you got to clean them fairly soon. Although I have let them dry and I've managed to clean them. Anyway, what I'm doing here, and yes, there is a hole here that's covered, but I can show you when I do how I do that. So anyway, I'm just putting another coat, very simple, of craft paint. on here. I want to give it a little bit of color, but when this dries, the wood does show through slightly. Okay, so that's what I'm doing. And while I'm doing this, I thought I'd share a little tale with you before we move on to the next project, if anybody's interested. But if you're not, you're going to hear it anyway. I grew up in the 60s, basically, as a teenager. I was born in 1951, but my teen years, like I was in high school from 65 to 69. We already had the British invasion at that time, because I can still remember watching the Beatles when I was in the 8th grade, when they were on the Ed Sullivan Show. And I think most of you watching are in about the same age bracket I am, maybe a year or two younger, but I think we're all baby boomers. I'm certain you remember the same. Well, even when the Beatles came, and we had the so-called British invasion, I still was madly in love with Elvis Presley. Now, of the Beatles, Paul was my favorite, but I liked him, but oh, I was an Elvis nut. And back then, when I was in the 8th grade, we could go to the movies on Friday nights for 50 cents. And of course, I saw every Elvis movie that came out, along with every beach party movie, beach blanket bingo, or whatever they called them, with Annette and Frankie Avalon. But oh man, I was in love with Elvis Presley. And I really had in my head, going through puberty, that if I ever met him, he would just be so charming and fall in love with me. Well, little did I. I mean, that's a little young girl being foolish. But last week was the anniversary, on the 16th was the anniversary of Elvis's death. And that's what made me think of this story to share with you today while you're watching me paint. When I was 24 years old, I was dating a fellow that was 7 years older than I was. And I started dating him when I was 18. And he was a nutcase, to be quite honest with you. Couldn't hold a job. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. The two of us traveled to Memphis. And the one thing we had in common was he had this huge collection of music from the 50s. And being a little bit older, of course, he liked, he didn't care for the Brits. He liked, you know, good old rock and roll and Dion. And I like that kind of music. So I really should have grown up as a teenager in the 50s, probably. But anyway, we went to Memphis. We were on our way to Arizona. And we went to Memphis. And I had a convertible. It was a really pretty car. I had bought it for $400. Anyway, gorgeous bronze color convertible. It wasn't a GTO. It was the next step down. I forget what it was called, which might come to me. But anyway, we had driven this. We were going to Arizona, but on our way, we decided we were going to take this road trip to Memphis. So we did, and we got to Memphis. And Memphis back, you know, that many years ago does not look like Memphis does today. Now, I haven't been to Memphis in 15 years. My husband and I went and toured inside Graceland in the airplane, excuse me, and did all that touristy thing, Beale Street. But, and it was quite different than when I had been there when I was 24. But again, that was 15 years ago, so I'm sure it's changed even more. Anyway, Alan and I drove to Memphis, went and stood outside of Elvis's house, and I had this cute little Yorkie, McKeever. So McKeever was with us. That was the most precious dog ever. Anyway, McKeever was with us, and the guards people at Graceland, was Elvis's cousin. He actually opened the gate and let me take my dog, McKeever, onto Elvis's lawn to do his business. I'm sure that would never happen today, but I was allowed, and so I always could brag that my dog pooped on Elvis's lawn. And the story was that Elvis, his bedroom faced the front, and that he would watch from his bedroom people outside the gate. And I was just so certain that, you know, he was going to spot me and invite me in. Well, folks, that didn't happen. But while we were standing out there all day long, and literally we were out there all day long, we had gotten friendly with this other young couple that were also doing the same thing, watching for Elvis, and got friendly with them, ate some lunch across the street or whatever, and stood out there again at nighttime. We were there till dark. And that evening, coming along, you could see all of a sudden something was going to happen at Graceland, as I clean my brush here, because several Lincolns pulled up through this through the gate and through a circular drive. Well, it was really funny because the one first vehicle that pulled in, I recognized the driver because I was such an Elvis fan, as Jimmy Hodges, who was somebody, if I'm not mistaken, Elvis met when he was in the service, and during his performances, he would be the one that would hand Elvis his scarves. Well, I recognized him, and while he was sitting at the front gate, I walked up to his vehicle and approached him, and he rolled down his window, and I asked him, "Oh, could I have your autograph?" And he said yes. And I pulled out a book of matches out of my pocket, and he signed them. Then I asked if there was any way I could, if he could, I mean, this is pretty brazen, if he could give me, if I could get some free tickets for Elvis's performance in Las Vegas, which was coming up within a month. And he said, "Well, I can't promise you that, but if you give me," and proceeded to discuss sex a little bit, "I can get you in to see Elvis." And I said, "Well, I don't know about any of that. And if I'm going to do any of that, it would be with Elvis." So that was that, folks. But within a short period of time, I'm going to set these aside. Within a short period of time, would you not know that Elvis came out? Now, there were 2 or 3 vehicles lined up in the circle drive at that point. Elvis came out, and when he came out, got in a vehicle. Now they started to exit. Well, my car, Elvis's mansion was right here, Graceland. Exactly, we were standing right here. Right around the side street is where my car was parked. So as we could see these cars were getting to pull out, we all ran, this young couple, myself and Alan, ran to my car, and Alan was driving, and we proceeded to get out. And as they were taking off, they got on the expressway, and we followed them. And I swear, there was a high-speed chase. Lo and behold, as we were following them, they knew we were following them at this point, and they were trying to evade us. Well, he stuck on their tail. They pulled into a Jewish community center with this long circular driveway. We pulled in. Now, another vehicle had apparently followed us, and they were in kind of a camper van. It was a family. Anyway, we pulled in. Elvis was right up by the front door. The community building was here. Circle drive was like this. Elvis gets out up here. I jump out of the car and scream, "Elvis!" Well, let me tell you, folks, Red West and a few of his other bodyguards came running at me and doing these karate chops. Excuse me. It was hysterical. Here I was, weighed all of about 105 pounds, like I'm going to hurt Elvis. Anyway, stop me. And while I'm getting some other stuff here, I want to finish this story for you because it's kind of hysterical. I happened to glance. Here's where Elvis goes in this entrance. Well, I happened to notice a glass entryway to the right, and it was funny because that's where I could see a janitor was mopping the floor or sweeping the floor. And it was double glass, like you go in one doorway and then there's glass and you go inside. So I went over there, and lo and behold, that gentleman, he was an elderly black gentleman, he opened the door and he let me in. And I no sooner got inside the building, through both doorways, and would you not know, here comes Elvis Presley. Now, he was Fat Elvis at that point. And he had on, I'm going to paint a coat on these, and I'm going to show you what I do then. Anyway, he had on his big black coat with the capelet, dark shades, all the rings on his fingers, just everything you've seen pictures of. And it was so funny. Tagging behind him was his girlfriend at the time, Linda Thompson. And the reason they were going there is at this Jewish community center, it's my understanding, they had racquetball courts. And Elvis at the time, that's when racquetball was a big, big deal. Elvis was going to play racquetball. But it was so funny because here's Linda Thompson trudging behind him, carrying all the racquetball equipment. Anyway, Elvis came literally, folks, and I'm not exaggerating. God strike me dead if I am, to within 2 feet of me. And it was funny because now these bodyguards are coming at me again. And Elvis did not say anything, but he put his hand up to stop them. Like, stop. And now this time I didn't scream Elvis. But my voice, which is pretty high-pitched anyway, and of course I was a nervous wreck. I'm this close to my idol. And I just said, "Hello, Mr. Presley." And he looked at me and he stared. He did not say boo. And I was so disappointed, folks. I have to tell you. I was just heartbroken because he didn't open his mouth. I mean, he didn't do anything wrong, but he didn't open his mouth. And he goes on, proceeds to go to the court. Now the bodyguards are all over me. And at this point, this Alan and other couple, they had, and the family that followed us, they had made their way into the building. But I was in there by myself during this entire time. And they came to me. I said, "I don't want to hurt him. I love Elvis. I just wanted to get his autograph." So they go, "Well, we'll see." So I gave them, I said, "Here." And I gave them the book of matches that I had this Charlie Hodge sign. And I said, "Here, just have Elvis sign this." Well, they disappeared with it. And lo and behold, they never came back. So the moral of the story was I was heartbroken. I thought Elvis was a real jerk. And, of course, I was disappointed because he wasn't the Elvis that I thought he was going to be. But do I blame him? No, in hindsight. But I have to tell you, it was a highlight of my life at that point. And it was at that point that I decided Ricky Nelson was the one I really liked, because I had met Ricky and had actually kissed Ricky Nelson. And he was the nicest guy in the whole world. And good looking. Oh, man, was he good looking. Softest lips ever, too. And it sounds like I'm a groupie, which I really wasn't, but I was pretty brazen, I guess, when I was younger. Anyway, I just thought I would share that tale with you, seeing as how we just celebrated the anniversary of Elvis's death. I did see Elvis in concert. Actually, prior to that time, paid $80 back then for 2 tickets. They were up in the nosebleed section. You couldn't be further away, but I actually got to see him live. And one time when he was in the Chicago area doing the concert, I happened to start calling around the various hotels looking to see if I could find where he was staying. And I got pretty clever, if I do say so myself. I didn't ask for Elvis. I asked for Mr. Parker. I didn't say Colonel Parker. I said Mr. Parker. And lo and behold, I knew he stayed at a Hilton. I actually connected up, found the hotel he was at, and was able to get up to his private floor on the elevator. Now, the guards there didn't let me go beyond, but I did get up that far. And again, this Alan was with me. And we actually went to that hotel's bar and sat and had cocktails with Linda Thompson. Elvis wasn't there, but Linda Thompson and several of his cronies in the, the Memphis Mafia. So it was kind of fun. Didn't get me anywhere, didn't ever get his autograph, and I still love his music and watch his movies, but I was heartbroken that he didn't even open his mouth and say hello or give me an autograph. But anyway, that's that tale. So now what I want to show you, okay, I put a simple coat of white paint on these. And I just want to show you how easy it is to use a glue stick for decoupage if you've never done it. So I'm going to take out one of these mermaid napkins that I purchased from Temu and use it to show you if I can find where it opens here. Otherwise I'll have to cut it. Oh, here it is. Now the beauty of these cheap napkins is they're only 2-ply. And they're a lot easier to separate than when you use the really nice napkins, which I do like for decoupage. But these are practically separating when you do them, open them. You can see it's already separating. I don't know if you can see that. So it's really easy to, because you only want, if you got a 3-ply napkin, you still only want one layer. And this is 2-ply, so this is easy. Now, I save these other plies because then I use them when I'm crafting to wipe my hands or something, so they don't go to waste. I just fold it and set it next to where I'm working. But when I did this, all I did, now I've got to decide, I'm probably going to do the multicolors on these. So all I did was take and figure out approximately how much I'm going to need to cover one, and there's a design thing here, so I'm going to move it over. And what I did, because like I said, I'm mass produced, so when I do this, I will do it like a dozen at one time. I just want to show you this, okay? And forgive me, folks, if you decoupage and this seems boring, but there might be somebody watching that doesn't do this, okay? So, all of a sudden I have the sniffles. So, I pre-cut. Usually what I do is, while my paint's drying, I pre-cut a bunch of the little squares. Get everything set aside, because like I said, I mass produce. When you're making a large number of something, I think it goes faster. And I just do all of the same thing all at one time. Okay, that's dry enough. And the reason you want, now I could have just put this on the wood, but you actually get a brighter color if you have it, the background is painted. So, using a glue stick, now I could use that white glue, I do it all the time, but this is so easy. All I'm doing is smearing this on, and even this cheap kind, and you want to make sure you get it all the way to the edge so it sticks every place, okay? Like I said, a kid can do this. The nice thing, even this cheap kind goes on purple, so it's really easy to see where you've covered it. Okay. And it starts to go clear, but it's easy to see. Very simple. Put that on. It's a blank. I'll get it out of the way. And I'm just laying this on here. Okay, I push it down, usually take my palm, and you can see, folks, okay, I can smear it like this because the glue stick is so dry, your paper isn't going to tear, your napkin isn't going to tear. I smooth it down, and normally, I would set this aside to dry. Sometimes I'll get my iron out and I'll do a bunch of these and I'll press it without the steam, and it really dries the glue really fast. But, I mean, this isn't wet because I've used a glue stick. Then, to remove the excess, all you have to do, and I typically wait till the glue is dried to do this, but I'm trying to show you. All you have to do is take an emery board would work fabulous. Mine are just all used up. So I have a piece of fine sandpaper here. Look it. Sand off the edges, okay? And this will be ready for the next step. And what I usually do is I save like the sanding. I get everything else done that I can. And I'll sit in front of the TV and do this step. Keeping my hands busy when I'm watching TV. I for whatever reason, I don't knit or crochet. People keep asking me. I know how to do both, but I can't read a pattern. So what good is it just to do a chain stitch or make a bunch of scarves? So anyway, so that's how simple that technique is, to decoupage on a wood piece, and you can do it on paper or anything, using a cheap glue stick. Now, what I think I'm going to do with these, I haven't quite decided, but I'll show you an idea I have. But I wanted to show you because I'm going to make some with the mermaid paper, and then I'm going to show you. I'm changing my idea on the other one. I have some mermaid tails that I have not painted or done anything with yet. These were made with a fondant mold I have. Now this one happens to be silicone. I've made them out of clay. I've made them out of glue sticks. And I'm going to decorate these and probably affix a mermaid tail onto one. But when I get to that step, I will show you. But while I was doing this, folks, I just wanted to show you a simple way to use a glue stick to decoupage. And while that other paint is drying, on the back of those tags, I was going to, this is pretty well dried now. And I don't want to put it down on my silicone mat because there's glitter on there. So here's a piece of paper. Now, I made out of air dry clay a bunch of seahorses. Again, I've made some of these out of silicone. I've made some out of glue. The air dried clay actually picks up the detail better. And I'm debating. I'm going to use these on some ornaments. But this one I had decoupaged and added some silver accent along the way. And this is my plan, is to glue it on here like that. So what I'm going to do is, and I'm debating, I think I'm going to add a little silver glitter to the back because the back of this will show somewhat. So I think I'm going to do that before I affix it onto the joy, and then I think I'm going to add a few more details. But to do the glitter, again, it's very similar like doing the sand. And anybody that has, anybody that's done crafts at all knows how simple all of that is. I think I painted it silver, but I think I may use this blue. Because I can always redo it. If I don't like it, I can redo it. But here's my little paintbrush. This one was actually cracked. So I painted the back silver a little bit. And tried to mend it with a little glue. Hopefully it'll work, but I've got more. I can redo it if I need to. Anyway, so I'm just putting, now I could use my finger for this. Okay. And I'm not a huge glitter person, but particularly on Christmas ornaments, some things it just adds a little touch. I particularly like the fine, extra fine glitter. So let's see on this one. Put this in the water. Now this is some blue. Now, I'm going to really heavy sprinkle this, okay? And I really could get it along the sides, but I'm primarily wanting to do this so if the back shows, okay? Probably could use a little more there, but I'm going to glue it now. I'm going to set this aside. Again, this is why I use my wax paper. So I can collect this. Okay. Why waste? Now I will have some fine glitter on my mat, but that's okay. But I'm just pouring it right back into the container. Okay. Get this out of the way. And this is really more of a chat today than an education, I think. But it's fun to talk with people. So, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put, even though that's still wet, that's okay. I've got my glue gun going here. I'm going to put some hot glue, okay, on the back of the seahorse. And you know what? If I don't like the finished product, folks, I will keep it for myself. And I'm going to glue that down. Okay. And I want to add a few other little things. I think maybe one of these little starfish would be cute. Tiny, tiny. These I got from Amazon. Okay. Little starfish. Okay. And maybe a little piece of sea glass. And I'm just going to put this on with hot glue. Okay. A little sea glass. And possibly a small shell. And then I think this will probably, I'll probably say it's done. Now I tend to continue playing with things a little too much sometimes. I don't know when to quit, but I think we'll just put this on here. Now, that's our little Christmas nautical joy sign. Comment, let me know what you think. And I'm going to come back on and I will show you how I finish off some of those tags, but I don't want to bore all of you today with watching me paint. So I'm going to get that done and I will follow up with more details and you can watch how I finish them off. Anyway, hope you enjoyed my little Elvis tale. Let me know if you were an Elvis fan, and if so, what was your favorite movie or what was your favorite song? And, you know, he did a lot to change music. I still love watching those goofball movies. But I'm curious what your favorites were, if you liked him. My husband and I had our first dance when we got married, which was in 1978. Elvis was kind of passé, really, but our first dance was Can't Help Falling in Love because I loved Elvis. And over the years, it was funny. My husband grew to like Elvis, and I grew to like some of the music he liked, like the Stones, etc. So it was good. But I love Viva Las Vegas, Return to Sender, Can't Help Falling in Love, GI Blues. I can go on and on. And my favorite Elvis movies are the ones with Shelley Fabre. So, and of course I like Viva Las Vegas. But anyway, it was fun chatting with you. Hope you learned a little here. This wasn't huge today, but I just wanted to say hello And hope you all have a great day today. I love you and stay blessed.